Parable of the unjust steward.
Ooh. And this is Luke 16.
16. He also said to his disciples, this was after the two brothers.
After the, oh yes, the prodigal son.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
There was a certain rich man who had a steward, and an accusation was brought to him that this man was wasting his goods. So he called him and said to him, what is this I hear about you? Give an account of your stewardship, for you can no longer be a steward. Then the steward said within himself, what shall I do? For my master is taking the stewardship away from me. I cannot dig, I am ashamed to beg. I have resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. So he called every one of his master's debtors to him and said to the first, how much do you owe my master? And he said, 100 measures of oil. So he said to him, take your bill and sit down quickly and write 50. Then he said to another, and how much do you owe? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, take your bill and write 80. So the master commended the unjust steward because he had dealt shrewdly. For the sons of this world are more shrewd in their generation than the sons of light. I'm going to need a recap on this. And I say to you, make friends for yourself by unrighteous mammon, that when you fail, they may receive you into the everlasting home. He who is faithful in what is least is faithful. He who is faithful in what is least, faithful.
And what is least in something that's small, like a small matter,
Oh,
is if he's faithful in what is least, like something small, like tidying
is
the table.
unjust also in much.
Well, he's faithful. Well, if he's faithful in what is least, he's faithful also in much. And if
Right.
he's unjust in what is least, he's unjust in what is much. So if you can show you're faithful in a small thing, then
Right, you got to work your way up.
right, right. So yes. So
Therefore, if you have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, what is that?
unrighteous mammon as like, well, in this case, I think he he was the debts, he was making his own deals, wasn't he? He was
Said he was commended for that.
he was commended. He was commended in that he was shrewd, right? Which is interesting that he was commended for that. I know.
Is it
But
not like sometimes it's better to just get your debt back rather than trying to gather every penny? But I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I didn't finish. I don't know what mammon means.
I think Menon is right. Like,
I'm gonna keep reading. Can you look up what the word mammon means, please?
okay, let's do it. Let's do it, Shay.
Therefore, if you have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust in true riches? And if you have not been faithful in what is another man's, who will give you what is their own? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate this one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. So mammon is another god. So
Mm,
unrighteous acts. So bad
like,
bad things.
yeah, like, or a material thing or something. Let's see
So you
what
can't
it's
serve two masters.
masters. Yeah. Let me see. Hold tight for a minute. 11. 11 was where it was first.
And what does stewardship mean?
The term stewardship is like the taking care, being responsible for something like that kind of stewardship. Like you're over it as in responsible, right? So it's the term worldly wealth is translated from the Greek word that's like mammon, often personified as mammon, representing material wealth or greed. And then let me see. And it talks about it in verse 12, right? Where does it use the word again? To do serve two masters. Oh yeah, the two masters, right? The masters is in oh
Don't serve two gods, right? You can't serve
yeah,
two
right,
idols.
right, exactly.
But I don't know. There's more in here.
There's a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of stuff in there, right? True riches.
Well, did he mess up? You know,
Right. Well,
someone
he
just made an accusation against him.
but he did mess up because he messed up in the shrewdness was he realized that he had to do something because the guy was gonna get him out of the job. So he called them and made a deal with them, right? So that he would have favor later.
Right.
So he kind of was shrewd, right? So what the I think in verse 8 is the master commended the unjust because he had dealt shrewdly, for the sons of the world are more shrewd in their generations than the son of light. So he was kind of impressed at his cleverness,
Right. At the end of the day.
but not saying that that's
Well, he
correct.
said, I'm, somebody said, I'm wasting your goods. And then he said, we're here to make money. What are you talking about? So he went and go at least repaid some debts, right? He brought home goods.
He so he brought home some like so there was the people that
Wasted
owed the
goods.
people, right?
Right. So he got that back.
He got some of it back. He gave him a deal to get some of it back, right?
Which is still like, if you think about that though, and like how life is, having the goods now is almost worth paying the price. But then again, I don't know. Maybe he lent it out at at a premium, and there was
Mhm.
a little bit to take off the top for a wiggle room.
So he was
Did
using
the
his
good.
bargaining power. His
Right, you don't know everything
we
that's
don't
going
know.
on.
And
But
yeah,
I guess it worked for his boss.
yeah. Makes I say to you, make friends for yourself by unrighteous mammon that you may fail.
That when you fail.
Yeah, so right when you fail, because he's obviously wasn't doing the right thing, maybe, right? Because he's firing them pretty much, right?
I think so.
So he's like he's looking out for himself, right?
Right.
But then he's doing it with unfaithful ways. So he's saying it's better if he was faithful, he wouldn't have lost his job. So that would have been the best scenario.
Well, uh,
But he would no.
nobody's bringing up who made the accusation, mother.
Well, we don't know that part, right? We just know a certain rich man who had a steward and an accusation. Oh, we don't know, right? We don't know.
It's just like, under what
Wondering,
circumstances is he making this decision? You have no idea. I have
right?
no idea. I'm just
And
possibly.
this, right? I mean, and this is Jesus. He did use this as a parable, so in a way, it's not necessarily that it's a real person, but it could be a real person, right? So
Right.
he,
It's just like, how are you supposed to use this parable in your real life? That's
yes,
how, right?
that's the
I mean,
question. That is the question. That's the question.
that's what you should be
That
asking.
was the right question. How
Right.
do we use this in our daily lives, right?
Because I'm sure it happens to people.
Right. So do we
And
have to make sure we're a good steward of the
look,
least that
accusations can be thrown,
accusations can be thrown?
and
And
they don't even
sometimes
have to
they're
do.
false or sometimes they're true, right? And depending on his shrewdness, maybe they were true, right? They didn't seem like he argued about the truth of them, right? That wasn't like an argument, right? He,
Well, it's how do you even disprove that? First of all, there was no there was no accusation. There was an accusation as in the word.
yeah, right. But maybe that's in the story that the accusation is true and we don't need to know what it is, right?
Or maybe his boss cared more about the money than he did the accusation.
Yeah. Oh, because he said that he's so shrewd, right?
Well, maybe not that yeah, I don't know.
Hmm. And
Go find treasure for somebody and see how they react.
Lord find treasure in this.
Well, go find some peace. You don't need the treasure. You already have it.
Lord bless you.